This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Presented by GSMC Podcast Network. My name is Chris Blades, and before I get started today, I want to make sure I remind you guys, as always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. Please make sure you never miss an episode. Make sure you're always on top when we drop our latest stuff. Also, if you could please as well, if you like what you heard today, or like what you hear today, like you've heard in the past, if you could please give us a 5-star rating, write us a nice review, wherever you listen to your podcast, it'd be very appreciated, very helpful. And also see what you guys like. Which is just like the ways we can improve, all that fun stuff. And also, if you're on social media, we're on social media, so you can find us there, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We can talk, we can chat, we can debate, we can discuss. And the NBA has finally given us the schedule, at least for like the 8 return games, if you want to call it. I guess you could call it that. The 8 return games finally gave the schedule for every team. So now we can discuss that. I mean, up until this point, it's just been discussing like, is the league going to come back? Is it not going to come back? Is this sport going to come back? Is that sport going to come back? What are safety protocols? Was it testing policy? What are they going to do for social justice? Are they going to allow this, allow that? All that stuff. But finally, outside of all of that, not to say that all those things, those discussions weren't warranted and important, but now we actually have some actual games to discuss, though. I mean, obviously, they're not the first team sports league to return I don't know exactly what the acronym is, but I think it's just like the Women's Soccer League came back over the weekend on Saturday. I believe it was their first game. So the NBA won't be the first sport back, but at least it's one of the first sports that has the actual schedule out. Well, I guess, technically the NHL does too, just because like they're doing the play-in stuff. So you know who you're playing, but you just don't know like when the stuff is and all that stuff. But regardless, the NBA has a schedule. So I thought I'd break it down because they released the full schedule for both the West and the Eastern Conference teams. Obviously, thought I'd break it down. I'll start with the West just because that's a little bit more interesting in terms of the possible playoff positioning and stuff, and their seeds aren't necessarily as locked in with the East. I mean, even in the East, like not all their seeds are locked in, but they only have like the one extra team, the Wizards, that are coming in. Like the West has, I believe it is 13 teams. Well, like I said, the East only has 9. Yeah, that math checks out. There's 22. So, I said a lot more to get through with the West. So, I'll start with that side. And just when you look at the schedule, obviously it's a little bit different than everyone's schedule was going to be because, in theory, you don't know what everyone's schedule was. But in theory, you're playing against better competition from here on out. So, in this final 8-game stretch, you don't have those easy games. You don't have like the Warriors, or you don't have the Knicks or the Hawks or the Hornets, the Timberwolves. None of those teams are on the schedule. Now, all the teams on your schedule are playoff caliber, obviously, because if they weren't, they wouldn't be here. So that in and of itself makes the schedules, everybody's schedule, a little bit harder. Obviously, certain teams got more luck than other teams, but I believe they were saying it was based on like the next, like the rest of their season. That's kind of how they determined, or the next 8 games of their season is kind of how they determined who's going to play. I guess they like based it on, because again, since all the teams aren't there, you have to X those games out. But I know a lot of people pointed out how the Pelicans' schedule looks pretty easy, and we'll go through it. So they play the Clippers. Obviously not an easy game. They play the Clippers, the Grizzlies, and then they play Magic, Kings twice, Spurs, Jazz, and Wizards. Which, I mean, outside of the Clippers and Jazz, and then, like, obviously, technically, well, not technically, no, so let me say that. So they play Clippers and Jazz, who are obviously the higher quality teams. Then everyone else they play is winnable games in theory. Obviously, you don't know because it's going to be weird. You got to see who adjusts best to this new environment and coming back and stuff. But like I said, even like the Grizzlies are, they're going to need to get past them to get into the playoffs anyway. They play the Kings twice, who again are around the same record as them, but they're not the Lakers, they're not the Nuggets, they're not one of those teams. And you play the Wizards, who, I mean, depending on when you play them, who knows if they'll still be fighting or not. So that game could be less important for the Wizards than it would be for the Pelicans. But again, they're still not like that great of a team. And then the same thing with the Spurs. Again, they're like the Kings, where you're fighting with them for the spot, but none of those are like, oh my gosh, I don't think they're like automatic L's. But like I was saying, as people point out, like the Pelicans, and I believe I talked about this like a while back too. It seems like it was like last year. That's how long ago it seems since sports have been prevalent in our lives. But I believe I talked about how like the Pelicans had a good chance to make a run just because their schedule for the rest of the season was pretty easy. So obviously this lends to that. Again, it can't be as easy as it would be because they don't have as many bad teams on the schedule. Or different bad teams, I guess you could say, quote unquote, because when I'm saying like quote unquote bad, because again, everyone that's in the bubble is necessarily not a bad team, but they don't have the luxury of being able to play some of the worst teams in the league. So there is that. So technically, I think their schedule is like a little bit harder than it was, but still, they have objectively the easiest schedule of anybody coming back. I believe, in terms of like strength of schedule and stuff like that. So that helps them. I know that got a lot of talk about and I mean you could still argue it, but just like the whole Pelicans really. I mean they really want the Pelicans to play the Lakers in the first round, and I mean that still may very well be true, but when you look at it like objectively, they did have a very easy schedule to close out the season anyway. So this is not like a shock. Like it's not they had the toughest schedule and then they all of a sudden made it the easiest. Like their schedule was already going to be pretty easy. So then I know that was a talking point. So that was interesting. Looking at the Grizzlies on the flip side, their schedule's a little bit tougher. They have the Celtics, Bucks, Pelicans, obviously, Thunder, Blazers, Spurs, Raptors, and Jazz. So they have 6 games. Well, no. Yeah. They have 5 games against teams that are guaranteed to be in the playoffs. That's Celtics, Bucks, Thunder, Jazz, Raptors. I'm pretty sure none of those guys can drop out. Well, obviously, not like the Bucks and the Raptors. They're too high up. But not anything like the Celtics or Thunder or Jazz. I think they could all fluctuate in terms of their rank. I don't think they're not really competing for that 8 seed. But then, like I said, then they got 3 games against the teams that they're going to have to beat, whether in the play-in tournament thing or just right off the bat to get into the playoffs, and that would be the Pelicans, Spurs, and Blazers. And so, like I said, their schedule is a little bit tougher, but their schedule to close season was going to be kind of tough anyway. So this isn't that new, but again, maybe they'll be fresher. Not fresher. They have younger legs, so maybe they'll be able to get back up to speed quicker, things like that. Who knows? But yeah, their schedule is a little tough. I guess looking at the Blazers too, because those are probably the 3 main teams people look at. Though I mean the Kings could be in there as well. But Blazers, they got Celtics, Nets, Mavs, Nuggets, Rockets, Clippers, Grizzlies, and Sixers. So their schedule is not that easy either. The only really easy game you could say is the Nets, just because like no Kyrie, no KD. Who knows how they'll be playing, but like I mean, in theory, you think that's a winnable game. But every other game is going to be a tough one. Celtics, not easy. Mavs, I mean, depends on the shape Luka and well, I mean, it's going to depend. This isn't just for the Mavs, but for anybody, it depends on how well they handled the quarantine or handled the stay-at-home orders and stuff like that. Because if they weren't properly prepared, or they didn't properly condition themselves, then it's going to take them a little bit longer to get back in the swing of things. But like I said, the Mavs not going to be easy, assuming Luka and KP come back in shape. The Nuggets, I mean, I guess we'll have to see if there are any lingering effects of Jokic having the COVID or that Rona, just because he did get skinny, which in theory was a good thing, but you don't know if he got skinny because he was sick. Even though they said it, I think he was asymptomatic, I thought they said. But still, you don't know if he'll have any effects from that I know people that even didn't have it that bad. I know my dad told me a story of a friend of his, the whole family had it, and none of them had it like that bad, but they still took them like a while. And granted, they're not all professional athletes, but it still took them a while to get back to himself. I mean, even Gobert said I think it was his sense of smell is still gone after like 3 months. So that's the thing, is that even if you don't get it, or you don't get it that bad, you can still have lingering effects weeks, months later. So that'll be an interesting one to see how they handle that. Then you got, like I said, you got the Rockets, not going to be easy. Clippers, not going to be easy. Grizzlies, that's a team you have to compete with. So it's not an easy game, but again, it's easier than the Clippers. And then the Sixers. And it looks like, I mean, it depends on how in shape Embiid is, but I mean, it looks like Ben Simmons got himself in the gym at least. Don't know if that jumper is going to be any better, but got himself in the gym, is going to be in good shape. It seems like so. Those games aren't going to be easy, so I know those are probably the teams that everyone's going to be paying attention to, at least in the West. I mean, again, everyone just wants to see their team do well when the play returns, but everyone's going to be focusing on that race to the 8 seed. That's really the one that matters, per se. Just because, again, everyone else is pretty much locked in, I'm pretty sure. Barring, I guess, like an 8-game losing streak or something like that. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone else is locked in to their position. Actually, let me check that, what the NBA standings are at this moment, just because I want to make sure that I'm not giving you guys wrong information here. But in the West, the 7th seed is up 7 games. So, yeah, assuming the Mavs don't lose 8 straight games, they should hold on to the 7th seed. Like I said, there's 7 games up with 8 games to play. And that's just on the Grizzlies, let alone like the other teams. There are like 11 and a half games up on the next closest team. So, like I said, the furthest they could fall is 8. Okay, yes, I'm looking at it now. So I think the top 6 are all locked into their playoff spot. And in the East, the same thing. The top 6 are locked into the playoff spot. So, I'm not really worried about that. But yeah, I guess we'll look at a good team or two here. Lakers schedule, I mean, again, they're the best team in the West, so no schedule is going to be hard comparatively, just because they're better than everyone they're playing. But they play the Nuggets, Rockets, Pacers, Clippers, Thunder, Kings, Raptors, Jazz. So no games against, I mean, only one game against a quote-unquote bad team. Every other team is going to be in the playoffs, so I mean, I guess to test some things out, see, look at face teams like the Rockets, the Nuggets, the Clippers, teams you're going to have to get through, most likely to get to the finals, maybe even the Jazz. So they're going to get the chance to play all those teams again just one last time before the playoffs start, which will be helpful. And then for the Clippers, they got the Nets, Mavs, Nuggets, Lakers, obviously Pelicans, Thunder, Suns, and Blazers. So they got 3 of those borderline West teams, and then they play the Nets, which in theory shouldn't be that hard. But again, you don't know how everyone's handled the quarantine. Then they got the Nuggets, they got the Lakers, which will be a big game when that happens. And they got the Thunder and the Mavs. So again, not too bad. And then looking at the Nuggets, because I think they're the 2nd seed right now in the West. No, they're 3rd seed. They're behind the Clippers. So then they play Clippers, Lakers, Heat, Thunder, Blazers, Spurs, Raptors, Jazz. So, again, only 2 games against those borderline teams. But, I mean, this is nothing new. You're going to be playing these teams to potentially get to the conference finals, conference finals, NBA finals, conference semifinals, even potentially first-round matchups. So, might as well get some of these games out the way. Anyway, that seems reasonable. But I'm trying to think if anyone else's schedule kind of stood out. So I'll say the Houston one is interesting because they play the Mavs, Pacers, Lakers, Bucks, Sixers, Blazers, Kings, and Spurs. So those last 3 teams are those borderline teams. So they're like, all right, those are a chance to kind of pad your numbers. In theory, again, none of those games are going to be easy wins. Those teams are all going to be playing for their playoff lives. So they're going to be trying, at least in the beginning. Who knows by the end? But in the beginning, they'll be trying hard. And then they play the Mavs, who they're better than, but who knows, with how everyone's going to be in shape. They play the Pacers, who are a good team, but not too crazy. Then they play the Bucks and the Lakers, which is that's a tough one. But I mean, those are teams that they're going to have to get through to win an NBA Finals in theory. So, good test for them in the restart. Then play the Sixers, who again have bigger guys, just to test out how that no center thing is going to work potentially in the playoffs. So you got a guy that can beat, who's arguably the best center in the league. It's going to be tough to deal with. I don't know how they're going to guard him. I don't know if Roko's going to be enough. I don't know if PJ Tucker's going to be enough. They have to figure something out. And the same thing with Ben Simmons. Like, all right, you might have to put Roko on Ben Simmons because he's more of a perimeter guy, but then PJ Tucker can't handle Embiid in the post. So it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with that. But again, it's potentially a team that you're going to have to get through to win a championship. So those three teams are going to be interesting for the Rockets because if they do well in those games, then all right, you probably feel better about them heading into the playoffs. Not that you feel bad about them, but they're currently in the 6th seed. And granted, them and the Thunder are tied, but they're in the 6th seed right now, so they got some positioning to do to get even a home playoff series, let alone a top 3 seed. I think they're 2.5 games back of the Nuggets in the 3rd spot. They're 4 games back of the Clippers, so that's probably going to be too hard to make up in 8 games. But potentially could go anywhere from 3 or even down to 7, honestly. They're only a game and a half up on the Mavs. So them is going to be interesting one, them and the Thunder, and then them Thunder Jazz, as much as the 8th is going to be the interesting one, them Thunder Jazz, just how those teams kind of finish out and where everyone ends up and the shuffling that happens, those are going to be interesting matchups to watch. Or interesting games to watch and interesting movement to watch as well. So, like I said, we got that. We'll talk about the Eastern Conference after this break. But with that, it should be interesting, at least. I'm just curious to see how everyone's going to come back. Because that's really the biggest thing, is just how much has the time off affected teams, their chemistry, their momentum, things like that. Because teams that were playing well before everything shut down, I know the Thunder were 8-2 in their last 10 games. The Lakers were 8-2 in their last 10 games. The Clippers were 7-3. So these were teams that were kind of finding their stride towards the end. Even the Kings were 7-3. So they're a team that might have had their momentum stop as well, as opposed to the Grizzlies and the Blazers. They were 4-6 in their last 10 games. So they were kind of sliding back a little bit, but then they had the time to regroup and everything. So it'll be interesting to see how everyone comes back, who's ready to go, who takes a little bit more time, and then how that affects everybody. And then, again, it'll lead into the playoffs, then we'll go from there, assuming everything doesn't get shut down because of that Rona. So, hopefully, we'll see with Florida, but hopefully they'll have things more under control by the time the NBA starts, because if not, it could be a mess. But like I said, we shall see. So when we get back, we'll switch over and talk about the Eastern Conference. So, stay right there.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
I was trying to say switch and flip at the same time. We're going to flip over to the Eastern Conference side now. And I should have prefaced this in the last segment, but when I talk about the teams that each of these teams are playing, they're not in order, so that's the schedule. When I list out the 8 teams, just the 8 opponents. So, just in case anybody got confused about that in the last segment. So, when you're looking at the Eastern Conference, as I talked about a little bit, talked about in terms of the West, the interesting race was going to be for the 8 seed and then maybe some of the middle seeds with the Jazz, Thunder, Rockets, seeing how they all position themselves, maybe even the Nuggets if they drop back a little bit to the pack. A similar thing is going to be said for the East in terms of the middle of the pack race is going to be the one that is the most interesting. And that's obviously the 4, 5, 6 race between the Heat, Pacers, and Sixers, because they're all within. I mean, obviously, the Pacers and Sixers are tied, and then the Heat are only 2 games up, and they're I think 2.5 games back of the Celtics, who are in the 3 seed. So it's going to be tough to kind of make up that, but again, not impossible. But that's really going to be interesting, just try the reshuffling of those guys. So from that standpoint, the Heat kind of got shafted in terms of like their schedule, because I believe people were saying on Twitter, I don't remember exactly what their strength of schedule or what the schedule in general looked like for them to end the season, but in the restart, it's not exactly easy, to say the least. So the Celtics, Heat play the Celtics, Nuggets, Pacers twice, Bucks, Thunder, Suns, and then Raptors. So you're playing 7 bona fide, 100% locked in playoff teams. Just off the rip. Then you have the Suns, who, depending on when you could get them, maybe they're not playing as hard, maybe they're already kind of out of it. So that may be to your benefit if you don't play them too late into the quarantine schedule. No quarantine, I guess, return schedule. But in terms of just like the opponents that they play, regardless of order, it's definitely a tough one. Play the Pacers twice, who you're trying to stave off in terms of for your spot. You play the top 3 teams in your conference in the Celtics, Bucks, and Raptors. Then you play the Nuggets, who are a top 3 team in the West, and then you play the Thunder, who are, I think, they're the 5 right now, but they've been pretty good all year, led by Chris Paul, and plus they're at least before the Rona hit, they were very good in the fourth quarter and like late in games and in crunch time and those kind of things. And if the game's going to be tight, or if the game is tight, they have a history of success this year in those kind of moments. So you kind of hope it isn't tight, because if that's the case, then the Thunder may find a ways to win. I know they made like big comebacks multiple times throughout the season, so they're not afraid of that. At least you don't know, because there's no reason to expect everything just pick back where it left off as if nothing happened once the play restarts. But they have a history this season of not being afraid of those moments. So we'll see if that carries over into the Disney Invitational. But like I said, the Heat, if it is true that their schedule is supposed to be like kind of light for the last month, they definitely did get shafted, because this is not an easy schedule. And then when you look at the Pacers, their schedule, again, a little bit easier, but not as easy. They not that easy, I should say. They still play the Rockets, they play the Lakers, obviously they play the Heat twice. They play the Sixers, they play the Magic, Suns, and Wizards. So 3 teams instead of only having one game. Instead of only having 1 game, they have 3 games against those quote unquote bad teams, with games against the Magic, Suns, and Wizards. So that's in and of itself is easier than the Heat schedule. But they play the Lakers, which is, they're the best team in the West, so that's not an easy game, though. The Heat play the Bucks, so there's that. They play the Rockets, a solid team. They play the Sixers, who they're trying to fight off just to even be the 5 seed, let alone be any higher than that. So the teams are already tied currently, so that's going to be a very important game for seeding purposes. So again, they played tough teams, but it's not the Heat level of tough. And like I said, maybe with all the young guys that they've relied on this year, maybe the time off and like trying to get themselves back in shape won't matter as much. But also, their team will not have, even though again it's not the exact same, but their team won't have as much experience outside of like Jimmy and Dragic and Jay Crowder and obviously Spoelstra. Not as many of their guys have the experience in these late season games or these high intensity games where like these games aren't like must win per se yet, because obviously it's not the playoffs. But you only have 8 games to kind of get everything back together before you start the playoffs. So it's not you're not in the season mode where you were like, all right, you're into the season, like you're in shape, you're ready to go. You got to kind of ramp all that stuff back up over the next couple weeks, and then on top of that, you only have a few games to get everything back together before you start playing games that, again, it's like once you lose in the playoffs, then it's over, obviously. So, while the youth on the team, I should say, could maybe help them get started quickly, again, the inexperience could also be just as important in terms of inexperience in playing in these very critical games late, quote-unquote, into the season. Because, again, it's now almost July, so the season should be over. But that, Rona. And then when you look at Philly, their schedule is not that bad, in my personal opinion. They got the Rockets, getting into Blazers, which will be important. They play the Magic, Suns, Blazers, Spurs, Raptors, which is a good team, and then the Wizards. So they only play 3. I mean, the Magic shouldn't make either one of the Wizards or the Magic is going to make the playoffs, but those teams are way below 500. The Magic are currently 30 and 30, not way below, but the Magic are currently 30 and 35, and the Wizards are currently 24 and 40. Though, John Wall's supposed to be back, so maybe that'll change some things. But yeah, just objectively speaking, they have the easiest of the 3 teams in terms of easiest schedule of the 3 teams, at least when you look at the expected expected quality level of the opponent. Again, you don't really know how anyone's going to be once play returns, because there's no real way to have any idea of what to expect. But just again, when you look objectively, they own the tough teams, or the tough games, I should say, are against the Rockets, Pacers, and then the Raptors. Everyone else is potentially a winnable game. Again, you don't know, because you got to see who can get back to speed quickly enough, who made sure they were in same shape, who didn't maintain their conditioning as much, who, I guess, gets sick, who gets hurt. Like, there's a lot of other factors in play, and so you can't just assume wins off the bat. But just looking at objectively, their schedule of the 3 teams in that middle, that 4, 5, 6 kind of, that could potentially be moving up or moving down, not that hard. Again, just solely based on the opponent. And the same could be said for the Celtics, who I said were trying to hang on to the 3 seed. Their schedule is not that bad either. They play the Nets, which is the Grizzlies, the Heat, the Bucks, Magic, Blazers, Raptors, and Wizards. So they play 1, 2. It's only technically 2 games against teams that are, well, I guess technically only 2 games on teams that are not in the playoffs currently. But then when you look at Grizzlies, they play them, they play the Magic, and they play the Nets. So those are all teams that, in theory, you should beat. But again, who knows how things will go. But they are another team that they have the youth that the Heat have, but they also have more experience because their young guys have been through the playoffs. Like their best player, arguably Jason Tatum, who's also like 21, 22 years old right now. So not only does he have the youth on his side, maybe that'll allow him to get back up to speed quicker, but also he was arguably the best player on a team that took LeBron to Game 7. Granted, that Cavs team, outside LeBron, a little shaky, but still took them to Game 7. They honestly couldn't win had Jason Tatum not bumped him on that dunk and got LeBron all riled up, and he was like, yeah, now I'm going to close this out. Had that not happened, maybe the Celtics would have went to the finals that year. They still would have lost to the Warriors, but, I mean, hey, they would at least have that experience. So, a little bit different with them. They're not going to be like as like I don't want out of touch isn't the right word, but they're not going to be as new to the moment of at least playing in intense and important games down the stretch. So they're going to be used to that. And like I said, their schedule is not that bad. Even the playoff teams that they play, Nets, Grizzlies, and Magic potentially, I guess in terms of potentially they all should make the playoffs, but none of them are locked into a spot is what I meant by that. The Nets and Magic objectively have not been good teams this year. And then the Grizzlies are decent, but they were kind of struggling before the break. They're under 500, so who knows with them. But again, no games are going to be a gimme. In this weird playoff situation we got going on down in Orlando, there's no guarantee outside of the Lakers and maybe even the Bucks. I don't expect anyone to just be locked in 100% beat all the teams that they should beat, because like I said, you gotta assume that everyone's been on top of keeping themselves in shape. You gotta assume no one on your team catches the Rona. You gotta assume no one gets hurt, because again, it's gonna take you're basically having a full more or less a full off season. Because I guess what? Because normally the season, if you make the final season ends in June, and then you don't, I guess, or training camp, if there's no like, if you don't do any FIBA stuff or you don't go to the Olympics or anything like that, I guess what, training camp doesn't start again until like September. So, or somewhere around there, maybe early October. So yeah, you got like, they basically got a full training camp. I mean, full off season off, if not even a little bit more. Now they got to get everything back together and get up and ready to play in 3 weeks before they got to play 8 games in the playoffs, like back to back to back. So, like I said, you kind of can't assume anything. This is why it's going to be weird and it'll be interesting to see who comes out of this with the win in terms of like the championship, just because there's no real way. There should be. I mean, there's obviously going to be favorites, but you can't assume that. You don't know who's to say the Lakers come back and are hitting on all cylinders the way they were all season. Who knows the same thing for the Bucks or the Clippers, even though they obviously had some injuries, so they weren't all together for most of the season. But you get my point. Same with the Raptors or the Celtics, the Nuggets, or whoever. Like, you can't just assume that what you saw during the regular season up until March, I think 11th, is going to be the same when they start late July. You can't just assume that. Now, it could very well happen, but you shouldn't just assume that that's what it's going to be, and that the bad teams are going to be as bad as they were, and the good teams are going to be as good as they were. You can't expect that. And then, like I said, you don't know about who's going to test positive, who's going to have to miss a couple weeks, who's going to get like a random other injury, like a hamstring or like a calf, or like who knows. There's so much uncertainty around sports right now in general, even as they're starting to come back. There's still a lot of uncertainty. So, like I said, whatever. I mean, this is going to be a very weird playoffs in general, and that's just, again, assuming everything goes smoothly. It'll still be weird, and I don't expect everything to go smoothly. So, yeah, as we talked about before, this could be this. I mean, this playoffs is already going to have an asterisk on it next to the champion, but it could give a chance for a random team like the Rockets to win another championship, like the Nuggets maybe finally get over the hump this year. Maybe, like, I don't know, the Sixers get everything together. They go on a nice little run. Like, again, I don't expect it just to be Lakers, Bucks, or Clippers, Bucks, like people would have expected like 3 or 4 months ago. Like, now, with all this stuff, no real home court advantage, nothing like all that, like, anything's up in the air. Anything's possible, in my opinion. So, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait until it returns to see how it all plays out. But regardless, should be interesting for one reason or another. Like, whether it's a complete mess or it goes through swimmingly. It'll be interesting to watch either way. And speaking of watch, we no longer have to sit back and watch and wait for news on where Cam Newton's going, because the news came down, I guess, Sunday night, around 8-ish, sometime around there, I think. Don't quote me on that he has found a new home. So we'll talk about that new home, the contract, and how it's unfortunate for him, and also kind of what the expectations for him and then his new team should be heading to the next season. So we'll talk about all that right after the break. Stay right there.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
We are back here GSMC Sports Podcast presented by GSMC Podcast Network. So, Cam Newton has found himself a new home with none other than the New England Patriots. While this was a place that many people had suggested and thought about after his, I think he was released, obviously. So after his release, there was no, we figured if it was going to happen, it would have happened already. But I guess the Patriots wanted to take their time, do their due diligence, make sure, in fact, that he was healthy. Because he looks, I mean, some of the workout videos he posts, he looks healthy. But, hey, you don't really know. Like I said, there was no real rush because it was like, all right, he's a free agent. If someone else wants to sign him, they can. But if not, then we'll just be able to wait it out. And I guess once you saw how all the dominoes kind of played out, and since he didn't go to the Grizzlies, no, not the Grizzlies, wow, I don't know why I said that. The Chargers, they don't play in the same town. So, like, that was weird. But since with the Chargers, since he didn't sign there, I was like, honestly, where else is he going to sign? Not to say that he wouldn't be better than some of the starting quarterbacks that are currently with their teams, but just when you look around and look at the potential starting spots that would be available this season, there really weren't that many out there after he was released. But if he was released at the beginning of the preseason, beginning of the offseason, maybe it's a little bit different. But by the time he got released, it was like there was only so many places he could go. And New England was one of them, though just like one of those things where it was just like you were just confused just because if you thought that they were going to do it, you thought they would have done it already. But again, they took their time and they still got the deal done if that was the guy that they wanted. So Cam Newton, again, as I said, reached a 1-year incentive-laden deal with the New England Patriots, league sources told ESPN's Chris Mortensen and Adam Schefter. He will now be in the mix with Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer to be I don't think necessarily be the heir apparent because it's only 1 year, so who knows if he'll even be there past this season. But potentially at least bridge the gap to the heir apparent of Tom Brady with New England. A source familiar with the Patriots' thinking said the agreement with Newton was appealing to the team as a low-risk, high-reward situation, factoring in Newton's health, a modest contract, and New England's transition at quarterback without Brady. So, yeah, I think if he only signed, I think it was for, like, I'm trying to find, I think Adam Schefter tweeted about it, but it wasn't even that much. It was, like pretty darn close to the minimum of what he could get, obviously, as a vet and stuff like that. But it's like I said, it wasn't that much money involved, which is interesting. So, apparently, the quarterback... Oh, no. Okay, like, no, it doesn't, like I said, I'm sure it doesn't really say the amount of money, but I know Richard Sherman tweeted something about how he was making, like, the league minimum, so I'm trying to find that. No, I guess, well, he doesn't, like I said, in the deal, it doesn't say, even in Schefter's tweet, it doesn't say that it's for the minimum, but I guess it's, well, the implication behind it is it's not that much due to the fact that it's incentive laden. So there's that, but I mean, from the Patriots standpoint, there's really no lose situation, as I think there was an article on ESPN on the app or the website about it. Just because, again, if he's good, then they have at least a bridge starter through this year and maybe even next year if they decide to keep him around longer than this year. And plus, again, he easily raises their ceiling well above whatever Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer could have provided for this season. And like I said, for the future, who knows for the future. And then if he stinks, all right, you had him for 1 year. It's over. It doesn't really matter. You can move on. And if you're not that good, then you can potentially, I guess you still have Jarrett Stidham there if you still think he could be the guy. Or, if you're bad enough, you have to quarterback next year with obviously Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, some other guys that could potentially have a Joe Burrow-like ascension into the conversation for the number 1 pick. There are some options out there for them if that doesn't go well. So, there's really no, in terms of finding Brady's like I said, his heir apparent is really a no-lose situation for the Patriots' perspective. Just because, like I said, he's good and you're good, or he's not that good and you're out of the deal in a year. And you didn't even pay that much. It says with it being so incentive-laden, and like in order for him to get all that money, you'd have to be really good. So, it like I said, it doesn't really harm you in any ways. It's unfortunate for Cam to hit to sign this kind of deal just because of the fact he's only 31, I believe, which is, and with quarterback age, that's like the prime of their careers in their like late 20s, early 30s. So he should still be in his prime, but again, he's had the injuries, which obviously caused him to sign a deal like this. Well, obviously caused him to be on the market in general, because normally MVP winning quarterbacks don't hit the free agency market unless there's some injury situation. Obviously, you saw that happened with Peyton Manning when he left the Colts and went to Denver, but he had the neck situation. So people weren't really sure if he was going to be able to come back from that. And then obviously he was good in Denver. But that doesn't happen very often. I mean, again, good quarterbacks very rarely hit the market. I guess, well, really good quarterbacks, I should say, because, I mean, you could qualify how you view Kirk Cousins depending on if you think he's good or not good when he hit the market. At least I should say in their prime. Let me not say that, because obviously older quarterbacks hit the free agency market sometimes. Tom Brady just did. But he's, 43? So it's a little bit different than him hitting the free agency market at 31, because 12 years ago would have been 2008. So yeah, it's right around when he was throwing all his touchdowns to Randy Moss. So yeah, that would have been a weird time. But, like I said, good for the Patriots. Good that Cam was on a team, even though, again, it's unfortunate that it happened this way due to all the injuries and the uncertainty around that. But with the AFC East now, that definitely changed some things. I know I saw some people tweeting out Thanos memes about Bill Belichick and his, his day of reckoning, really, just in terms of, I know there was the one, I think it was from Infinity War, where he said that reality is often disappointing, and I know you could say that Bill Belichick is saying that to the AFC East teams that thought, oh, this is the year that we're going to have a chance to win the division, like we're going to be good. No, the Patriots are going to be sorry this year. It's our shot. And then my boy Bill was like, not so fast, my friend. Shout out Lee Corso and the old NCAA football games. But yeah, just like, so then all those people that were like, oh yeah, this is the Bills' year. They got it. Like, it's sewed up. Even like, oh, maybe the Jets could have a sneaky run to it. Not to say the Patriots are locked to win the division, but I mean, objectively speaking, assuming Cam is healthy, they have the best quarterback. Now, the other pieces around him still definitely are a little shaky. I know their receiver position very shaky. They got Sanu, they got N'Keal Harry. I'm pretty sure Edelman's still there. But outside of that, not much. Tight end position, not a whole lot. Not of an experience there. Running back still got Shoney Michel. Still got James White. So that's good. In the line, assuming they don't trade Joe Thuney and David Andrews is back healthy this year. And also Isaiah Wynn was able to play more because he was hurt last year too. Assuming they don't have they have a healthy line, all right, then that helps. That's really been an issue. Was that the Panthers line was like, it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't also great. So there's that. And then obviously the defense is the defenses. That's that. I mean, again, they lose people all the time. They lost Kyle Van Noy. I'm trying to think if they lost anybody else. I know that was a big one. I forget if Jamie Collins is still there. I know he was a free agent. But regardless, even if they did lose more people, I know they got the one McCourty back. But even if they did lose more people, I mean, it is what it is. Bill Belichick and the Patriots, they just cycle through people like all the time. It doesn't matter. People leave, and their defense isn't like that much worse. So I don't expect the defense to be that much worse. And again, when you have Stephon Gilmore on the outside, having a number one corner changes a lot about a defense. It makes everybody better. So they have that. So the Patriots defense shouldn't be that much worse than it was last year. I don't know if it's going to be the best defense in the league, but it shouldn't be like, again, it shouldn't be like bottom 5, bottom 10, anything like that. So you got a good defense. If you potentially have a good line, that means you have a better running game. You don't have to rely as much on Cam. But it'll be interesting to see how much different the offense looks. Because, again, that offense has only had, it's had different leaders, but it's only ever had Tom Brady in it. So I don't know what it's going to look like now with someone who's much different than Tom Brady in terms of athletic ability. The way and just the overall way they play the quarterback position as a whole is completely different than the way in which Tom Brady plays it. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And then lastly, from an expectation standpoint, like I was saying, I don't think you can just expect them to automatically just leap back in to that top spot in the AFC, just because, again, their offense is still going to be a little bit shaky, just on top of the fact that the receivers and everybody aren't really that great. Cam is going to have to learn a whole new playbook. He's going to have very limited time. Though, they haven't been able to work out. They shouldn't be working out in teams. Not to say that, because I know, obviously, Tom Brady and Russell Wilson and some other guys caught some flack this past week for hosting team workouts, even though it's not advised because the Rona and everything. So he's got to get acclimated to that. Got to get acclimated to a new city, I was going to say a new fan base, but there might not be any fans of the Saints. So I'll see about that. But again, new teammates, new offense, all that stuff. So, and he hasn't had the full offseason. Again, even with a lot of quarterbacks changing rosters or changing teams this offseason, they still had the full time to work with their guys, communicate with those guys, build relationship with their receivers and their running backs and their tight ends, stuff like that. And even potentially throw with them once or twice, obviously not being able to throw with them as much as they would have under a normal offseason. But now Cam's missed all that, and we're starting, and it's what? When you guys hear this, will be June 29th. So it's basically July. Training camp's going to be starting up in a couple weeks, and the first time he will have seen any of those guys, including the coaches in person, will be at training camp. So it'll be interesting to see. But again, I don't think they signed him to be the backup to Jarrett Stidham and / or Brian Hoyer. So with that, if assuming he's starting, if he's healthy, and he can, Cam's played with bad receivers for most of his career, so that's not going to be anything new with him. But even with the offense kind of being a little bit lower in terms of like the hierarchy of the division, there's still, like I said, it changes the whole dynamic of the AFC East. Just because everyone you heard, everyone you would have asked, even I believe myself, everyone was just saying this was the Bills' division to lose. Now, this makes things a little bit more interesting. Not that I'm going to say for certain they're better than the Bills, just because you got to see what Cam is like. But again, it changes things than if they had Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer starting. So like I said, that reshaped that whole division, and then that potentially reshaped the whole AFC outside of the Chiefs and the Ravens, obviously. Because those are clearly, in my opinion, the two best teams in the conference. Though, again, you don't know which team could surprise. I don't think anybody saw the Niners going from what I guess they had the number 2 pick to making it to the Super Bowl and should have honestly won it. I don't think anyone saw that. So I'm not just going to assume different teams can't have that kind of rise this next season, especially in a weird year with the Rona going on. But like I said, that makes the Patriots relevant again. And if they're relevant, then that means they're going to be in the mix, in my opinion. They're not. I don't think they're going to be objectively bad because, you could argue a healthy Cam might be better than what Tom Brady was last year, and they still made the playoffs with that. With Tom Brady having his worst season in a few years. Still made the playoffs. Granted, they lost, but they still made it. So I'm saying it's hard to just assume that, they'll be done now. Or just because Tom Brady left, they'll be done now even though they have Cam. So that's what I'm saying. You got to kind of reshape the way you look at the AFC East and the AFC as a whole, because you got to now factor back in the Patriots. At least a little bit. I'm not saying that I expect them to be in competition for the 1 seed or anything, but like I said, Cam Newton and even a hurt Cam Newton's probably better than Jarrett Stidham, but in my opinion at least. But I don't think Cam Newton is easily the best quarterback on their roster, bar none, and that again elevates the ceiling of the Patriots. So it'll be interesting to see how it all works out. Like I said, it's not too shocking because of the few openings that were available, but just shocking because of the Patriots and it's Cam. because I don't know if they've. I mean, I guess they know they drafted Jacoby Brissett, and he did start a few games, but I don't know when they've had like an African American starting quarterback for an extended period of time. Again, Patriots fans, let me know if I missed it. But I know just coming to the season, like, oh, this guy's going to be our guy. That's not necessarily a thing that's happened. So that's, again, it's a whole new situation. That's probably honestly the reason why people were a little bit shocked it was the Patriots, because like that's not what you expect from that kind of team. But hey, it's a new day in this country. So potentially, I don't want to say that. I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, but everyone's seeming like it's a new day, so we'll see. But yeah, it should be interesting, to say the least. And speaking of interesting, the NBA decided to make an interesting decision on how they're going to allow the players to show their support and speak out against all the social injustice that is happening and continues to happen and has happened over the last 400 years in this country. Well, 400 plus years in this country. So like I said, they have a interesting way of which they're going to allow the players to demonstrate that. So we'll discuss that and my opinions and my reactions and kind of how I feel about it right after the break. Stay right there.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
We are back here again on the GSMC Sports Podcast, presented by GSMC Podcast Network. So, Chris Paul, Oklahoma City Thunder guard, obviously president of the NBA, or the National Basketball Players Association, told ESPN The Undefeated on Saturday that the Players Union and the league are collaborating to allow players to wear jerseys with personalized social justice, social cause, or charity messages on the back instead of their last names during the upcoming NBA season, like when it gets restarted and all that stuff. Personalized statements on the jerseys are part of a long list of social justice messages the players plan to make through the remainder of the season, which restarts July 30th in Orlando, Florida. Potentially, I mean, we'll see, because, the cases are spiking in Florida, if you haven't been paying attention, but, the NBA is going to act like that's not happening. But yeah, the NBA and the NBAPA announced an agreement on Wednesday to continue to discuss fighting systemic racism, and to make it one of the main focuses of the restart. Personalized jerseys could say such things as Black Lives Matter or I Can't Breathe, bring to light a social or charitable cause, or even display the names of George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, who were killed by police in recent months. We're just trying to continue to shed light on the different social justice issues that guys around our league continue to talk about day in and day out. Paul told The Undefeated, people are saying that social justice will be off of everyone's mind in Orlando with these jerseys. It doesn't go away. NBA players were vocal. NBA players were involved, in nationwide protests, vocal on social media, and active in the aftermath of Floyd's death on May 25th in Minneapolis and Breonna Taylor's death on March 13th in Louisville, Kentucky, at the hands of police. For players who would rather raise awareness with their jersey for causes or charities not connected to social injustice, police brutality, or racial issues, Paul said that will be accepted as well. Paul, whose Thunder will be playing the NBA restart, said he has not decided what he would want on the back of his jersey. Paul said he also talked to numerous players, including some who are not black, who support the jersey idea. He said players will not be forced or pressured to wear jerseys with social justice messages. There will also be suggestions offered to players looking to call for a cause to support. The commissioner, Adam Silver, said Friday in a media conference call that the league has work to do to make progress in hiring African Americans in notable roles. And the need for diversity was discussed at a recent Board of Governors meeting. The NBA is basically 75% black, according to a study done. So, I mean, obviously, in terms of the players, if there's that many black players, then you would think there'd be more black coaches or front office or GMs or VPs of basketball operations or even owners, because the only owner is Michael Jordan, and he just so happened to have to be the greatest basketball player, arguably, of all time, to even be able to be in position to own a franchise. So, again, I mean, they're not the only one with diversity issues, the only sport, I should say, but it is definitely something that they can continue to work on. And I will say, I thought it was, I know because Chris Paul's obviously been the one for the NBA's perspective talking about this, but I thought it was somebody from the Atlanta Dream that first broached the idea of like kind of having this this thing be discussed. Okay, yeah, so yeah, she pitched this like 5 days ago. Okay, I thought so. This pitched the idea of for WNBA jerseys with names of police brutality victims on the back to continue the activism. This was on June 23rd. This article came out from Yahoo Sports, and at least it seems like she's happy to see the news on Saturday that the NBA will allow its players to do what she was suggesting, and she hopes that the WNBA will follow suit. But yeah, so I find it interesting that they kind of, from the NBA perspective, they kind of just like talked about it being a Chris Paul idea. Not to say that he wasn't involved with Angel McCoughtry in terms of talking about this, but I know it came out that it was her idea first, so that's just unfortunate she didn't get her credit, at least in the part of the ESPN article that I read or some on social media, I feel like, since it wasn't just an NBA idea. But that's neither here nor there, not to cause division in that. But again, you want to give credit where credit is due. So shout out to Angel McCoughtry for the idea. But the idea itself. So yeah, I'm kind of on it. Like a little 50-50, if you will. And I'm only saying that because will these jerseys be on sale? Because they're on sale, and people could purchase them, and then those proceeds could go to different initiatives or causes or campaigns that the players are invested in, then all right, then I can get behind the idea. But if it's just like, we're going to let you do this, and then like just so you, and I don't know, like again, is this like a whole time thing, just like in the beginning thing, like you're going to be able to do this throughout the entirety of the restart, the Disney Invitational? Are you going to be able to change? Like if you, like after a week, if you were like, all right, I don't want to have just George Floyd on there, I don't want to have just Breonna Taylor, or I know this one was from 2019, but the recent one that popped up, I think it was Elijah McCain, or like if you don't want to just have one guy, you want to be able to support all the people, would you be able to do that? That wasn't at least touched on in the part of the article I've read. So if it does touch on that, please let me know. You can say reach out to me wherever, and just let me know if I like missed that. But Ahmaud Arbery too, and throw his name in there, even though that wasn't police. But there's like, and you're even like old ones, like would people be able to put like Trayvon Martin or Eric Garner or Philando Castile, or just different people that maybe have had a personal connection to them when it happened, that kind of thing. I don't know how far back it can go, and also like what the rules on it are, because that's kind of the thing with these protests is normally, when you protest, there aren't rules to a protest. Like you can protest anything, anytime, any place, and potentially, obviously. At least in public places. Again, if you're on private property, it makes things a little bit more difficult, I believe. But just like you have, due to the First Amendment, you have a right to protest. But I'm saying, I wonder what constitutes the appropriate message or name or cause to support. That's just what I'm interested in. Is how far will these players be able to go with this? Obviously, not going to be able to use like profanity and stuff because of the kids and everything. But I'm just curious, like, what will they be allowed to put on the back, and like how much will they be allowed to put on the back? Like, if someone puts like defund the police, is that going to be an issue? Because again, they're going to have law enforcement or some sort of security at the all around the premises, I think, or so. Like, I would, or do different owners have relationships with police officers or police departments that they don't want to kind of jeopardize kind of that? So I'm saying if that's something that can't be put on, then that's a little suspect to me. But again, those kind of rules are going to come out, I guess, probably later on and once you see the things. But if it's just like names, or it's like Black Lives Matter, or are you going to be able to put like numbers to call to like for like if the Breonna Taylor situation hasn't been resolved by the restart, will you be able to put the number for the Attorney General or like state legislatures or in Louisville or in Kentucky in general that you could call to kind of get a resolution positively, obviously, for Breonna Taylor? Like I'm saying, like what will you be allowed to put is my question. And I think hopefully there aren't like too many restrictions, because if that, then again, I feel like it kind of defeats it, because then you're kind of, not to say that you can't censor things, because again, it's the NBA, they can do whatever they want. I mean, again, they didn't allow people to kneel, so they didn't have to worry about the whole Kaepernick situation. People often forget that. I think that they have a rule in place that you couldn't kneel. And again, we'll see. That's another thing I wanted to touch on, is that, like, all right, you're doing this, which is like whatever to me. But like, say somebody wanted to kneel for the anthem. Like, if you can't allow them to do that, then this rings hollow to me. Like, I'm like, how would you, like, you see, like I said, with the women's soccer league, they had the first game, everybody kneeled, everybody was wearing Black Lives Matter shirts. You see people overseas doing it. You see people in the NFL saying they're going to kneel. Like, it would be kind of weird to me if like every player stood for the anthem, personally. But again, they have a rule in place where you can't kneel. So I'm saying if that rule isn't changed, then this talk about like we're all about continuing the conversation, different things. Like I said, it rings hollow to me. Maybe not everyone's going to feel that way, but to me, it rings hollow if you're not going to go extra steps to allow people to express themselves in whatever way they want to express themselves. And like I said, the NBA kind of skated, at least with the kneeling conversation, when Kaepernick was doing it, because they didn't have anybody kneel because you couldn't. So they didn't have to catch the ire. I mean, again, you had people speaking out, but you didn't have to catch like the direct ire of the president or other guys like that, because you have to worry about it because no one can kneel. That's a different topic than the jerseys, but just one thing I was curious about is that, will that be toned down or scaled back, and that will be allowed now. The thing to look out for in the restart. But yeah, like I said, my issue with the jersey thing is really just because I'm not saying that awareness isn't still good, and we don't still need to continue these conversations to make sure people don't forget. But to a degree, and this isn't like my idea, but I've heard this discussed on different shows or podcasts or whatever. Like, the people that are aware, I feel like at this point, or the people that want to be aware at this point are. I mean, not that there aren't more minds to try to turn or more people to try to convince, but I feel like if you want to be aware of what's happening in the country right now, like it was everywhere for a couple of weeks, and now it's kind of died down. The Rona stuff's picked back up. But if you want to be aware during that like 2 to 3 week stretch where like there were protests going on every single day in like all 50 states, it seemed like, then you couldn't avoid it, whether it was on the phone or it was on social media, whether it was on TV, local news, national news, it doesn't matter. Every place was covering it. So if you wanted to be aware of it, you could. So while I don't think that awareness is an issue, but if it's a situation where where people are just going to forget about it because basketball came back, then that's not while it is necessarily a basketball problem, that's a person problem. Like, if you were just going to allow, all right, I was focused on this because I was sitting at home in the middle of a pandemic, and now now sports are back, I'm just going to forget about everything that was wrong in the world. That's a personal issue you may have to address. So that's why I feel like the awareness aspect, while still good and while it's still important to continue these fights, because again, this isn't all going to be resolved by the end of this year or within the next few weeks or few months or whatever. I feel like now we have gotten the necessary awareness. We can still continue, to raise awareness. But now it's time for action. Like in terms of laws being passed, bills being passed. I know the whole like House, Senate, police reform bill. It's all kind of a mess. Which is like whatever. I'm not gonna get into my issues with the political system in this country on this podcast. But yeah, so then like we need laws passed. We need people charged. We need people arrested. We need people convicted. We need people sent to jail. We need initiatives supported, funds supported, campaigns supported to kind of get some things fixed in this country. And like the proceeds from these jerseys could go towards that. Now, again, it doesn't say anything about selling these jerseys in terms of like, I mean, they're producing them, but they might just be producing them strictly for on the court. If they're not also producing them to be bought off the court, then I feel like the NBA is dropping a ball in that aspect, because those, one, could be very good sellers, in my personal opinion. And two, you would use those proceeds to then kind of help fund these initiatives that these players are very interested in. And that seems like an very easy solution. I know the NFL talked about they were giving money to different social justice initiatives over the next like 10 years or whatever. They're doing pledge like $250 million. So while the NBA should still do something like that, this is a little thing they could do. And it's already, like I said, it's already being done. Like, you're already changing allowing them to change and put whatever within reason or within the restrictions they may or may not have on the back. So to sell them. And then whatever proceeds you get, how much or how little it is, use that to go towards something that the players care about. I feel like that's a very simple and easy solution. Don't know if it's going to happen, but like I said, it feels like a very simple thing you could very easily push and do. Like, just do it. And if they don't do that, that's then, like I said, the jersey thing will ring hollow to me in terms of how dedicated they are for fighting for what these players care about. Because, while this is a good step, definitely better than just sitting and doing nothing. Again, now is the time for action, in my opinion. Like, we have awareness, we can continue to raise awareness. That's not a bad thing. But, again, awareness is not going to change anything. Laws will change things. Voting people out, we're changing things. Making sure there isn't very blatant and obvious voter suppression going on will change things. Funding campaigns to help educate people and help put in the proper, or to help try to get things passed in order to have the proper reforms, or whether you reform the police or defund the police or whatever, make sure those things are supported and those bills get passed. And like I said, some of these campaigns, these initiatives that help and support those things can continue to be able to do those, because again, most of these initiatives and companies and non-profits, they kind of need the money to be able to continue to do those things, bail people out, protesters out of jail, stuff like that. Like I said, you need money behind that, and like the messaging is great on the back of the jersey, but like I said, that doesn't change anything outside of the bubble. It raises awareness. You can see it on TV. Great, cool, happy about that to a degree. But like I said, if there's nothing else to it, it's just that, you can put whatever on the back of your jersey, then like I'm saying, it rings a little hollow to me. But again, everyone's going to be a little bit different about that opinion. So maybe you disagree, maybe you don't. That's just how I feel about the jersey thing. It was the thing that I figured was going to happen. It wasn't that surprising to me when I heard about it and that I heard the NBA was going to do it. But like I said, I feel like if that's the only thing they do, and that's like look, we did this, like that's not enough. And personally, again, you are more than welcome to disagree. But personally, I feel like there is still more that needs to be done after this. Like, this isn't just like, all right, we did this, we're good. Like, no, all right, this is the first step, but then you need to do step 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and all the way to whatever number you should decide to stop at. Again, the NBA isn't going to solve this issue in the span of how many ever months, from July to October, or basically from August to October. But like I said, they can do more than just allow people to put some charities or some different names on the back of their jerseys. But maybe that's just me. And speaking of, I guess, this was a interesting display and a cool display of players using their power, try to push something and make some change, in theory. The Kansas State athletes at the Kansas State University are doing the same thing. So I want to talk about that and kind of some of the things going on there and some of the backlash they may have received from fans and people that aren't supporting what they what they are doing, not may be doing, are doing. So talk about all that right after the break. Stay right there.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Because, I mean, not a whole, not necessarily a big-time school in terms of, like, football or basketball nowadays. I know when, what's his name, Jacob Poland was there. It was kind of a big deal. But now, they don't really expect to just, like, hear Kansas State pop up in the news randomly and it'd be a big discussion. But this is where we are now. And we're here because a group of Kansas State student-athletes of color, obviously, said its members will not participate in all athletic-related events unless the university takes action in the wake of a tweet by a student mocking the death of George Floyd. In a statement issued Friday by senior defensive back Jonathan Alexander, the group asked for a policy created against racism that will expel any student that openly displays racism on all platforms such as social media, school, Aggieville, and sporting events. Christina, don't know why this two ends, but Christina, people spell their names weird. Carr, a junior guard on the women's basketball team, posted a similar statement with the same request to her Twitter account, promising not to play if those steps aren't taken. The group also asked that the student who sent the tweet, Jaden McNeil, receive strong consequences. We need to see change to ensure our safety on and off campus, the group said. On Saturday, over a dozen football players, including quarterback Skylar Thompson, tweeted a statement saying that we, as a football team, demand the same actions from the university. Later Saturday evening, the athletic department on Saturday said it respected its students' fight against racism. McNeil had tweeted Thursday afternoon, 1 month after the killing of Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer, "Congratulations to George Floyd on being drug-free for an entire month." Because obviously there was like talk that he was like the criminal and like he had the drugs in the system, blah, blah, blah. Regardless, that doesn't mean people should die. There's a lot of people that do drugs daily. I would argue that none of them deserve to be killed unjustly by police. But maybe that's just me. And I, have compassion for human beings. Not everybody does. McNeil's tweet has been widely condemned by the university leadership, including athletic director Gene Taylor and football coach Chris Kleiman. I hope I pronounced that right. As well as players. Kansas State President Richard Myers said Friday that the university is launching an immediate review of its options. We condemn racism and bigotry in all forms. We condemn racism and bigotry in all its forms, he said. Black Lives Matter at Kansas State University, and we will continue to fight for social justice. He described himself as the founder of a conservative group called America's First Students, which Kansas State said is not currently registered on campus because of a lack of membership. America's First Students have already drawn the ire of students for past statements made by McNeil. Students released a video last week under the Black at K-State hashtag and asked for America's First Students to be removed from campus, and a petition has circulated on Twitter asking that the group be banned from campus because it spreads hateful rhetoric, the Manhattan Mercury reported. McNeil did not respond to a message to America's First Students from the Associated Press seeking comment Friday. He had previously said America's First Students is a mainstream Christian conservative organization that supports the president. Freshman cornerback T. Denson was among the players to speak out against McNeil's tweet, saying he would refuse to play for a program that tolerates ignorance such as this. Senior defensive back Walter Neal Jr. and sophomore wide receiver Joshua Youngblood also tweeted that they would not play for a school unless McNeil is removed from campus. Youngblood has since removed that tweet, but also posted, "Football does not define my teammates or myself. We have emotions, and we are regular people with feelings. Playing a sport is literally 10% of who we really are." So, yeah. Kansas State is in a very interesting situation, mainly because they are a public university. And I say that because it's a very important point, because as unfortunately, as I have discussed with some of my college friends in the group chat that we have, because I know my one friend, he studied like criminology, so he's all into like laws and everything. They went to like grad school. I know my other friends go into law school currently. Shout out to them. But the issue is that public universities, generally speaking, have less ability to do things about this when it comes to like hate speech, because I wouldn't say for whatever reason. I know what the reason is, because again, the Constitution was written by white men back in the day. Like hate speech is protected under like the freedom of speech thing in the Constitution, I believe. Because of that, and because, like I said, state schools have different regulations and rules that they have to follow than private universities. There may not be a lot of that Kansas State could do in terms of to the student. Now, I'm not going to say that no student that's ever done these things has ever been like expelled or kicked off of campuses, and I don't know if all of them were public universities that they happened at, but I know obviously it's been a thing that's happened over the years. This isn't like a new thing that's just started happening recently. This has been happening. Now, like I said, I know it's happened at some colleges, and I know people have been expelled, but I don't know if all those colleges were public or private. And I think that's an important distinction because, like I said, public universities have a different set of rules they have to follow when it comes to the Constitution, different things. Than private universities, they have more wiggle room, I think, which is why when you saw, when I read this is from ESPN, but there's articles everywhere about this. But I think it was who was it that said that? The president of Kansas State said that they are launching an immediate review of its options, aka like, can we do anything? Because if we can't, then Kansas State's going to have a problem. It's the same kind of issue that Penn State had a couple weeks ago, where there was a video that circulated of one of their students, like driving by a protest and like shouting racial slurs and stuff. Though the guy in the statement, the student, completely threw his father under the bus, which was objectively funny because I'm pretty sure you could see him on the video saying it too, but just like immediately as soon as he got all the backlash. Like, he saw the bus coming, the backlash bus, and just got out the car and immediately threw his father under it. Like, it was like very funny. Like, if you read his statement, it was like all on the dad. Like, he was trying to clear his name completely, which I don't want to say I understand because I try to say racist. Well, I'm black, so it's hard to be racist, but I try to say like inappropriate things towards other groups of people. But it's like, it was just funny that he was just like immediately just like, nah, that wasn't me, dog. Even though, again, you're on video, I'm pretty sure he said he wasn't silent the whole video, let me put it that way. But that was funny. But then, like I said, in the aftermath, Penn State said they basically couldn't do anything because it was like freedom of speech, like kind of thing, First Amendment, like, we're a public university, I don't know what you want us to do. And that didn't go over well. Obviously, in the midst of where we're at in this country, they were just like, yeah, we can't really do much for you. And like I said, that didn't go over well with the students, especially the African-American students and alumni. That didn't go well. But like I said, it's unfortunate that happened, and it's unfortunate that hate speech to this point is still protected under the freedom of speech thing. But like I said, with Kansas State, I don't know if they can do it, then that means that Penn State dropped the ball. Not surprising. But it's interesting to see like what Kansas State does, or like I said, can do. Because if they can't do anything, then they got a problem on their hands. Because you got all these minority athletes, or not these black athletes, saying that like, yeah, we're not playing, and then either A, they really don't play, or I guess A, they really don't play, B, they transfer to a different university where they don't have to deal with these types of things. Though, I mean, you're going to have some of these students that outside of HBCUs at like literally almost every campus in the country. So, got to pick and choose which one won't tolerate this kind of stuff. So maybe like you look for like a private, not necessarily a public state school, it's like a different university to attend, obviously. Or 3, you hope that you can kind of convince them to be like, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. All right, we can't expel him, but we can do this, that, and the third, and try to convince them to stay. Because, I mean, it sounds like there was a good, especially football, which is, I mean, we'll see if it even happens this year, but that's the moneymaker at most schools is the football program. That kind of is the sport that kind of helps fund a lot of the other sports, you could argue. And if people aren't playing that, then your football team's worse, and it's a whole mess. So, like I said, Kansas State is in trouble if they can't do anything. Now, if they can't do anything and they can expel him, then boom, they're good. They're on the right side of history with this. But if it comes out this week that the president's like, I'm sorry, there's not much I can do. Yeah, it's going to be a problem. Like I said, because I honestly believe now that not just professional athletes, college athletes realize the amount of power they have at those universities, especially football players. At big universities where football, maybe even basketball is the thing, they have a lot of power, a lot more power and influence than they realize. Because again, you kind of think of it like, oh, we're amateurs, we don't have much say, we can't really do things, but they do. And it's being shown around the country in different statements and different things that athletes have talked about and then been able to get their coach or university to talk about or condemn. Like that's not a thing college athletes were doing even last year when, again, maybe you didn't have a George Floyd video out, but this concept of police brutality is a brand new thing. It's been going on for forever. Social injustice, systemic racism, all this stuff has been going on for forever. So none of these concepts are new. There's just now people are realizing, like, hey, look, we actually can do something to help combat it and help condemn it and help change it, whether it's in the world as a whole or smaller within our own college community. And as I said, I've been happy to see that athletes are taking that chance to use that power. But at the same time, if Kansas State can do anything, now they're kind of in a bind. Because now you have all these athletes that are going to be pissed off that nothing happened to the student that was making a joke about something that is not joke worthy. And especially when it seems like they already had issues with the black students on campus already had issues with this kid before this, and now you got this too, so they were trying to get him out of here. Now they're like, all right, come on, like, you gotta do something. So like I'm saying, if you don't do anything, then that's gonna hurt you, and then that might hurt you, like I said, not even this year with people sitting out and transferring all that stuff, but down the line, because it's not like, with all this information and social media readily available, you can see the missteps by universities. Like, you see it now. Like, I mean, whether it'll be a big deal or not is again, remains to be seen, but you can see and you can remember, like, hey, look, I remember when this happened, you guys did nothing. Or when that happened, you did nothing. Maybe the parents might remember or whoever, and they'd be like, this might be a good opportunity, but like, I don't know if they feel comfortable with you going to this school because of this, that, and the third. Like I said, so now, I'm saying not only does it hurt you in the immediate, it could hurt you in the long term if they don't handle this right. Like I said, I don't know if they'll be able to handle this right, due to the fact that they're a state school, a state public university, and like I said, they kind of have to stay more true to the Constitution. I believe. Again, I maybe have that completely wrong by, like I said, what happened with Penn State, and they were like, we can't really do much about it because they're First Amendment. I believe that the similar thing could happen at Kansas State, which is, again, why they didn't just do it. If they could just do it and expel the guy, I think he would have been gone already. But due to the fact that, like, we got to review our options, this, like, all this other stuff, that tells them, like, we might not be able to do anything, and we got to figure out how we're going to tell these people we can't do anything without alienating an entire section of our student body. So, shout out to Kansas State athletes. Shout out to them, like I said, taking a stand, using their platform, using their power within the university to try to hopefully create change. And if it doesn't, then hey, look, more power to them. They can go on, and this is, again, the power that they have. They can go on and choose, like, I'm not going to be here. Same thing if you're in an office and you don't feel comfortable. You can quit that job, and again, as long as the people don't blackmail you or kind of try to blackball you from the industry, which, if you're reading some of the stories about some of the situations, at least in the entertainment space, with different companies and their practices and the different people that they have in higher positions and the way they treat some of the work, especially the women and the women of color. I mean, not women of color, the black women, because black and people of color are different. That's, again, topic for another podcast. The way they've been treating these black women and these women in general at these companies, when they try to speak out, it doesn't work, and then when they leave, they try to like blackmail them or try to like hurt their chances of getting a better or another opportunity, not to say necessarily better or worse, but another opportunity. Hope that doesn't happen with any of these athletes if they do decide to leave, but I mean, again, we'll kind of see. So I'll be keeping my eyes on this as it plays out, because, again, I'm all for student athletes realizing the power that they have. I'm all for athletes in general realizing the power that they have and realize the change that they can make if they take a stand. So, shout out to Kansas State black athletes, basketball, football, all the sports. Shout out to all of them, everyone that was willing to take a stand on this issue. Because, I mean, it's worth taking a stand over. That tweet is disgusting. But yeah, some people are disgusting. It is what it is. And speaking of disgusting, obviously we've talked a lot about the MLB negotiations back and forth and how much of a mess that was. But now they're back. So you think, all right, everything's good. And then they comes up with a report of... this isn't like the worst thing that's come out recently from the MLB, but it's just like it's a report about their handling of the pandemic and how they will handle it within their league. So we'll discuss that and my opinions on this potential report that came out about how they may handle things. Again, the season's not starting this week, so maybe they have time to change it and alter it. But as this moment right now, what they have planned is kind of crazy. So we'll talk about it right after the break. Stay right there.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC, Invicta FC, Bellator, and One Championship. We got the fights covered. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
So, this is from Yahoo Sports. We will see how true it turns out to be. But there was a report that the MLB season could continue even if COVID outbreak forces teams to drop out. In a bid to exhaust every possible scenario Major League Baseball could face this season, SNY's Andy Martino made an interesting discovery Friday. If an outbreak of COVID-19 cases forces one or more of the MLB's 30 teams to drop out mid-season, the league will not necessarily be required to suspend the season or shut it down. According to a newly received passage in the agreement between MLB and the Players Union, Commissioner Rob Manfred will decide if and when it is appropriate to suspend or cancel an individual game or the entire season. His decision will be based on several factors, including the competitive integrity of the game. From SNY. The March 26th agreement is now updated to include this passage, which SNY has obtained. The Commissioner retains the right to suspend or cancel 2020 championship season or postseason, or any games therein in the event that, one, restrictions on travel throughout the United States are imposed, which, I mean, they currently are, so that's already an issue. Though, again, it's not, like, everywhere, but just, like, if you are paying attention. Or if you live in the East Coast, I'm not saying paying attention, but if you live in the East Coast, or especially the Northeast, you saw that New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, and I think Connecticut's, like, might be one of, if not the, safest, or, like, in terms of the COVID-19, in terms of, like, the amount of cases they drop, and, like, all their numbers are very good. I think Rhode Island's up there, too. But those three states, we're talking about how they're banning travel, or not banning necessarily, but if you travel from certain states, you gotta, like, they're like, you can't just be out and about. Like, you gotta quarantine yourself. I think it was, like 8 or 10 states, somewhere around there in the South. I mean, you can look it up if you want to get more information on it, but they were just saying, like, look, if you come here, well, one, we don't want you to come here, but if you do, we're gonna watch you, because we can't be having, us numbers are just starting to get right again. Like, we can't be having you messing up our numbers because you want to get out of states where they're closing things down, because we're opening things back up now because we have this under control for the time being. Again, I think there's a second wave coming, especially when flu season starts back up again. And that's going to be a disaster, but we'll see. Back to the commissioners, back to the passage. 2, there is a material change in circumstances such as the commissioner determines, after consultation with recognized medical experts and the Players Association, that it poses an unreasonable health and safety risk to players and staff to stage those games, even without fans in attendance. Or 3, the number of players who are unavailable to perform services due to COVID-19 is so great that the competitive integrity of the season is undermined. Martino's sources tell him the first 2 items in the above passage were agreed to in March. The third item, covering positive tests and competitive integrity, was added Tuesday. Then there's this excerpt from Martino. Baked into the amended language is an acknowledgement that an outbreak within a team could decimate it or cause the cancellation of games. That would not automatically mean an end to the season itself. The report did not clarify the definition of competitive integrity or how many COVID-19 cases would be required for Manfred to consider suspending or canceling operations, nor does it explain how a team going on hiatus or dropping out would alter the schedule or standings. The league is determined by 60 games in 66 days, so there's literally no wiggle room to rework, travel, and reschedule a block of games that could be canceled. Would teams just be rewarded wins for having the ability to show up? Would they finish with less games? None of that is made clear. What is clear is that the MLB is hopeful this scenario will not occur. However, with COVID-19 cases spiking around the country and the baseball landscape, no scenario, even the worst of cases, should be reasonably ruled out. Again, don't want to be like all Debbie Downer worst case scenario thing, but this is kind of a mess, honestly. Like, the fact that if a team has to drop out, granted, I will say this, the women's soccer league, the team in Orlando, they were just like, look, we got too many cases, we can't play. And the league was like, cool. And they were just like, we're going to continue on without you. So it wouldn't be unprecedented to do something like this. But, like, again, that was before the season. They didn't say that they were going to come back. So they had ability to rework the schedule around them not being involved. But now you're talking about if a team or teams, because I believe there was an S there, have to drop out, you can be like, hey, it is what it is. We'll figure it out from there. It is, like, objectively a mess. And it's not just, like, this isn't just a baseball issue. This is, like, for all the sports outside of maybe hockey. Hockey may be let out because they're going straight to the playoffs. Like, they're not doing anything else. Obviously, they're having expanded playoffs, but they're going straight to it. Like, they're not trying to play no, like, extra games, like, no, finish up the regular season, nothing. They're going straight to the playoffs. So you just hope, it's going to take us how many months to finish these playoffs. Hopefully nothing crazy happens during that time. But again, this isn't an impossible thing that could happen in any sports. Basketball, when it restarts, football, definitely, especially since they're going to be traveling and stuff. The MLS, when it restarts, like, all these things could happen if teams are traveling. Baseball, obviously, is going to be a sport that is traveling currently. If those things do happen, then you're looking at a scenario where there's a possibility that teams could have to drop out because the cases get too much and they're just like, we can't handle this anymore. And if that's possible, like, the league wouldn't shut down. Because, I mean, I feel like that's, like, pretty, in my opinion, pretty safe grounds to be like, like, I don't think we can do this. Because that's the craziest thing is that, like, when the NBA shut down, and they were on top of it, they did it first, like, it was cool. I'm glad they did it, because they forced a lot of people to take it seriously for, I mean, at least, like, a month or so. Then they stopped caring. And now we are where we are, and then, like, the whole mask thing, whatever. You guys know, obviously, what's going on. But when the NBA shut down, it was literally because of one player. Like, one player shut all of sports down in this country. One person, Rudy Gobert. And again, we obviously found out Donovan Mitchell. It also tested positive, and then more people came out after the fact. But Rudy Gobert tested positive, shut everything down. And now, fast forward 4 months, when we don't really have this virus. Well, I mean, actually, we have it less under control than we did, because at that point, there was very limited cases. And now there's millions of cases and hundreds of thousands that are no longer with us. And now people are talking about, like, all right, if somebody tests positive, we just go on, like, quarantine them for a couple of weeks, and, like, we'll be good. And, like, that is crazy to me. That we're at a point where, like, one case shut everything down, and now we're just like, hey, look, if a team has to drop out, they have to drop out. It is what it is. Like, how did we get here? Like, how did that happen? And again, obviously, the MLB is the first sport to put this out, so I'm talking about it from their perspective. But I don't think any league has touched on this yet. Like, what happens if a team has to drop out? Like, what happens in the playoffs if, like, 10 players catch the Rona and they legitimately, like, can't feasibly fill a team? What do you do? Like, how can you justify playing a season or continuing a season when a whole team has to drop out due to the Rona? How, like, I understand, once you start, you don't want to stop it. I get that. Which is why, again, I've always argued that playing sports this year is kind of almost impossible. Assuming, again, you have to literally assume no one catches it, which seems kind of crazy to me. Especially when you're flying, especially when you're going to be flying people into the bubble that weren't originally in the bubble, that you hope were quarantining. You don't know if they were. You hope they don't bring it into the bubble. And then also, again, they haven't, I don't know if I know they updated, like, how much they're going to be testing the workers, the regular workers, in, at Disney with the NBA stuff. But it's not like they were saying that they can't leave and come back. I don't think they're not being forced to stay in the bubble like the players and coaches and everybody else is. At least that I know of. Again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But from my knowledge, if they're going to let the team come back, I think that will change. Because you can't. That's stupid. You can't have that. Because then you're just asking for them to bring it into the bubble. And again, you're trying to make sure that no one's in the same room at the same time. All that stuff. But again, the way this virus is transmitted is still kind of confusing, especially when the majority of these people are going to be inside of, like, hotel rooms and things like that. And inside seems to be where it can be spread much more easily. You hear so many stories of, like, there was the one story, I think it was in Texas, where, like, they had, like, a surprise birthday party and, like, 18 people from one family got it. 18, like, that is a wild number. And you hear those same kind of big numbers from people when they went out to, like, bars or nightclubs, things like that. And, like, inside, all of a sudden you hear these, like, massive amounts of people catching. I think, like, there was a bunch of, like, airline workers that caught it. And obviously, when you're working in the airport or working in a plane, that's enclosed, like, stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm not saying that you can't catch it outside or while being outside, but even if these people aren't going to be in the same room, they're still going to be in the same spaces. So, not going to be that simple. But yeah, I just thought it was, when I saw that, I was like, that's kind of nuts. And again, I don't want to just pin this on the MLB, because I don't think any league has put in place their plan of, like, what happens if kind of, even when Adam Silver spoke, I think it was Friday, he didn't even say, like, what the number would be that would cause the season to shut down again. I mean, granted, I think it's going to have to be pretty high because they're not trying to shut it down, but I feel like a team having to drop out is grounds for, like, maybe we shouldn't do this. Especially depending on when when the people test. Like, if it's all at one time, they just played a couple games, well, then now you got a bunch of people that were exposed, potentially. and that should, even if they test positive, should be quarantining, because you don't know how long it's going to take them for the test to be potentially, or if they test negative, I guess I should have said. You don't know how long, like, again, the incubation is anywhere from like 2 or 3 to like 14 days. So it might take up to 2 weeks for them to be test positive. Now they played 3 other teams, or like or they've been there. Maybe they're in a series and they played another team in a series, and now, like I said, they've lost, so they're done. But now the other team moves on, and now they're going to play a new team. And like I said, that's one of my biggest issues with the bubble. Is like, it's good if no one brings it in, but if once it's inside, it's going to be hard to keep it from spreading, in my opinion. Again, we'll see. Hopefully, like I said, I don't want sports to have to be shut down. I don't want any leagues to have to shut down. I don't want teams to have to drop out, any of that stuff. But I also want to be realistic here. You have to plan for the worst case scenario. And I think it's overly optimistic to just be like, hey, look, we just got to get through, especially from the NBA perspective, we got to get through 3 months. Let's try to churn these games out and hope for the best. Same to the MLB got to finish a whole season. NFL got to finish a whole season. Hockey just got to finish the playoffs, but still, 2014, there's a lot of teams involved. And I think, what was it, MLS just had 26 guys like test positive, I thought it was something like that. And again, they're trying to get restarted, but brothers is testing positive. Like, this is just where we're at in this country right now. Like, we don't completely have it under control, so you can't expect the athletes aren't immune to the disease. It has no preference on who it enters. It's just like, hey, look, I'm here. And that's what I'm saying. It could turn into a mess. Not going to say it will, but it could turn into a mess, especially if, like I said, teams have to drop out. I hadn't even thought of that possibility of a team having to drop out and the league continuing. Like, that's a mess. Would be objectively funny if they did try to do that, but that's crazy. To be like, oh yeah, this team had too many players test positive, so they can't play anymore. But like, we're going to keep playing, guys. Like, don't worry about it. And I said, and it's also funny from, like I said, the MLB, because they're not playing in the bubble, because I mean, it's kind of hard to. NBA is literally the only sport, and maybe hockey, I think that you could feasibly play in a bubble. But even I don't know if there's like that many hockey rinks in an arena at one time. At least with basketball, I've been at tournaments and things where they've had a location that's had 3, 4, 5 gyms. That you could all have games going on at the same time. Obviously, they're not gonna have that many, but you get the point. Like, you can play multiple games at the same time. Most other sports, there's not enough fields available at the same location to do that. So, and like I said, MLB, like the NFL, they're gonna be trying to travel, putting people on flights. I mean, I know they're gonna try to charter them, make sure they don't have to go to the airports and stuff, but still. You're leaving from safe places to go to hot zones, leaving from hot zones to go to medium zones, leaving from, like, it's just, like, the entire theory behind the disease is trying not to travel unless it's necessary. And again, it's necessary for their sport, but, like, sports themselves aren't necessary. I'm so trying to say sports matter. And, like, sports are great, but they're not risk your life for a pandemic, or during a pandemic, great, in my opinion. Again, people would disagree, but I just thought, like I said, that the idea that sports would continue if teams have to drop out, like a sports league would continue if team has to drop out mid-season, is like nuts, because that should be like the red flag. Like, maybe we should be doing, maybe we shouldn't be out here right now. Like, if I was a player and I saw a whole team, just I'm like, all right, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, I'm out. Like, y'all can, I mean, again, assuming I was able to afford it, like, y'all can keep whatever money I was going to get. Like, I'm not doing this. I talked about that. I talked about, like, the aspect of players dropping out after they see some things, but I didn't expect the whole team to drop out in the league. We're just like, hey, we're just going to forfeit those games and keep it pushing. Like, hey, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm not trying to rag on the MLB more than I already have over the past couple of weeks. But the report was about them, but again, I don't think they're alone in this thinking among league commissioners. They're going to try to get these sports done through, I think, what, hell and high water, I think that's the saying. They're going to try to get this stuff done. They really can't afford to not have these sports go on. So they're going to do everything they can to make sure it happens. But we'll see if the runner cooperates, because I don't think it will. I hope it does, because again, I want sports to be played so I can watch them, but also, like, I don't want them if it's not safe, and it's not safe, so I'm kind of stuck. I'm kind of torn on what we should be doing. But hey, these commissioners going to bring it back, I'm going to watch it for as long as I can because, like I said, I don't expect things not to get shut down again. But maybe that's just me being overly pessimistic. Nothing new. But yeah, that'll do for me here today on the GSMC Sports Podcast presented by GSMC Podcast Network. I want to thank you guys, as always, for listening. And if you listen like what you've heard today, like you've heard on past episodes, make sure you subscribe. Make sure, like I said, subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you never miss an episode. Make sure you're always on top of when we drop our latest stuff. Also, if you like what you've heard today, give us a 5-star rating. Write us a nice review. It's very appreciated. It's very helpful. Let's see what you guys like, what you guys dislike, what we can improve. All that fun stuff. And also, if you're on social media, we're on social media, so find us there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We can talk, we can chat, we can debate, we can discuss. You can tell me why. You can tell me which, like I said, which teams you thought kind of got screwed over in this new scheduling thing, or what teams like you think lucked out. I'm willing to discuss either. You can talk about what you think Cam Newton's going to look like on the Patriots. Obviously, we haven't seen him healthy in a little while, but I mean, it's better than, in my opinion, Jared Stidham or Brian Hoyer. So there is that. So yeah, we talk about that. Talk about how you guys feel about the players being able to put like Black Lives Matter or the names of different victims or different organizations or charities they want to support on the back of their jerseys once the NBA restarts. All that stuff. More than willing to discuss with any and all of you guys. So before I get out of here, I want to make sure I, as always, shout out the essential workers that have been working throughout this pandemic. It's unfortunate that you guys don't get your own like little stimulus check for just the essential workers. Because I mean, they've been doing a lot of heavy lifting here throughout this pandemic, making sure everybody's as safe as we can be, making sure stores stay open and hospitals are good and people are taken care of and people can get their food and get other essentials they may need or get stuff delivered to their house, like all that stuff. Shout out to you guys. So like I said, doctors, nurses, EMTs, firefighters, grocery store people, or workers, not people, workers, dollar store workers, I know they've been open too. And I know people try to go there when grocery store is not always, it doesn't have some of the supplies and stuff that they may need. They've been going there. So shout out to them. Shout out to delivery drivers, mail employees, people working in like the Amazon warehouses and different things like that have had to, again, work through this pandemic to make sure other people like me can get stuff that I want online so I don't have to leave my house. Shout out to you. You are appreciated. And again, if you're just going outside, it's not that hard. Just wear a mask. It shouldn't be like a political thing. It shouldn't be like a left thing or a right thing or like whatever. Just wear a mask. If you don't want to wear it to protect anyone else, just protect yourself because you could get it too. Like it's not like it's obviously in theory about protecting everybody else, but that you aren't immune to it. You could get it, and that's just as bad as passing it on to someone else as you getting it for yourself and having to deal with that for yourself. Because not all the stories are asymptomatic. Everyone's good. Everyone's fine. Don't even notice. It's like people getting lung transplants and might have like permanent damage. We really don't know yet. So I would think no one would want lung damage or other organs damaged. So if you don't want that, just wear a mask. And then then I don't know if it'll be gone right away. I'm not a scientist or like I don't study viral diseases. But you would think, all right, it'll be cleared out pretty soon if we all just like wore masks for like a month. If everyone just wore masks for like a month, I feel like the virus would kind of die out in this country. But hey, maybe that's just me being, again, maybe, and this time I'm being overly optimistic based on what other people have done in other countries. But I digress. So, I've been Chris Blades. That has been my time. And until next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.